Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, my name is Michelle and I am a high school art teacher. I'm about to finish actually my 8th year of teaching, which is crazy. I have taught elementary art, middle school art, and high school art, and so today I am going to be talking about the differences of each. I also asked on Instagram if you had any specific questions about this topic, and I did get a bunch of questions. So first I think I'm just going to kind of like dive into my overall feedback of teaching all the different grade levels, and then go and get the questions and bring those up and see if there's anything that I missed. We are doing a super casual video today. I'm just chilling on my couch, I have my blanket, and super cozy because I was supposed to head into school today to film and do a video at school, and then editing took a very long time. And then I pulled Instagram and I said, should I go to school or should I stay cozy? And y'all said to stay cozy, so here I am, but I still wanted to be productive, so I'm filming this video. That way I can still be productive, but I can stay at home. So this video is more so for people who have the option to teach different grade levels, of course. So any like kind of content area, you're gonna have the option to teach different grade levels. I am certified K through 12 art. I actually also taught preschool when I was in Maryland, because in Maryland you can teach preschool as well with that certification. Your certification transfers to pre-K to 12. Actually, I guess you could add preschool to that list of grades that I've taught. But I started with high school my first couple years. Now, given it was alternative education, it was like a second chance school. It was students who were expelled from their school and they were trying to work back into like going back to public school. It was inner city and it was hard. So that was a whole other ball game. Like that to me is not a good depiction of what teaching high school is, but you should know that that is where I started. So I taught high school for that was my dog. High school for not even a year there. Then I went and taught preschool to 6th grade for 2 years, and I was on a cart, so that was a whole other experience. And then I taught kindergarten through 6th grade in a classroom for 5 years. I think it was 5 years. I think I was like my 5th year there, and then I switched half year, something like that. So then I got my job that I have now, which is actually, I say I'm a high school art teacher, but actually I guess right now I'm a middle school and high school art teacher because my school has middle school and high school combined. It's a small school. But I only see 7th grade as my 7th grade rotation. It's possible that in the future I could see 8th grade, without a doubt, and then I would teach all of middle school and high school. But for now, I have 7th grade rotation, and then I see all of high school 9th through 12th. All right, so how on earth are you going to know what grade you want to teach? I don't know if there's like a direct answer for this because it's so situational to the school you're at, to the type of teacher you are. I think the best thing is just to get that experience. When you're student teaching, hopefully you were placed in 2 different grade levels. I had a middle school and an elementary. I was not crazy about middle school, at least in comparison to elementary. I just really fell in love with elementary. And then high school, I had no idea. Now during college, I will say high school originally is what I wanted to teach. Originally, I was like, yes, I don't want to teach elementary at all. I want to teach high school. I wanted to teach more complex art lessons. I wanted to really dive into art, and I didn't want to do simple things, primary concepts and stuff like that. But I didn't say no to a job, and I think that's the advice I can give you too, is don't say no to a job because of the grade level unless you're 100% sure that that's not the grade level you want, because you just never know. Okay, if the camera looks different, my cat just knocked over my entire water jug of water and it was open, so that happened. Anyway, where was I? I think I was saying about how don't say no to an experience unless you know for sure. Like if you absolutely without a doubt know you don't want to teach high school, then yeah, don't take a job, obviously. But if you're unsure, if there's any doubt in your mind, just go for it and experience it, because you really just never know. And so when I took the job I have now, I was honestly a little unsure. I had taught elementary for so long, and I knew I loved it and I was comfortable, and I had just gotten to that point in my career where I wasn't struggling anymore. I was, you know, on my lessons and feeling confident, and I had behavior management down and like all the things. And then after I finally like had my head above water, I switched wholly to a different grade level, and kind of in a way started completely over. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love high school. And we'll get into this in a little bit, but my elementary experiences I think just actually helped me so much with my current job with high school. So I just feel like any experience you can have, you can take anything from that and it can help you get to where you want to go. So even if your main goal is to one day teach elementary, I feel like if you need a job and you take a job in high school and say, okay, this isn't permanent, like it's just a starting point for me, there's always something that you can take to your next job. There's always experiences, you're still learning. You can take those things to your next job and it'll make you a better teacher. So the main difference in high school and elementary, of course, is their independence. Elementary is so needy and they're learning, and that's why, but I would spend hours and hours and hours prepping supplies. And prepping supplies, organization, that was my cup of tea. Like, that's what I'm good at, and it was needed for elementary because you want to set yourself up, or you want to set your students up for success. And so doing things behind the scenes in an elementary classroom really helps when you're teaching and when you're going into that lesson. When you're teaching in elementary, it's very hands-on. It's very like you're go all the time. You're lucky if you have a break to pee. You're lucky if you can eat your lunch some days, and it's exhausting. Like, I was exhausted when I came home. I will say I think that's also worse because I am a specialist teacher and I have 40-minute periods of time with the students, so it's like one full lesson and it's a blur and then you switch to the next class. And so that is another big reason why it's so go. Maybe if you were self-contained with a class as a classroom teacher, it might feel a little different, but at least for me, that's my experience, and it was very high energy. You also have to kind of be on stage all day. You want to be engaging to these kids, and just teaching to a younger group like that, teaching to a younger grade level, I personally was very animated and I taught with a lot of excitement, and just, it was fun that way, you know what I mean? But that also makes you exhausted. I love that part of elementary. I love kind of that, like, engaging with them, excited teaching. I loved prepping the supplies. I loved getting everything together, but it is more time, more energy, I would say. High school is time and energy in a different way. It's not that, like, all exhausting. You come home, your body is achy, like that feel, I feel like is way more in the elementary setting. So a lot of people, a lot of art teachers that I know actually started in elementary when they were younger, and then as they get older, they kind of transition to high school because it is less stressful on your body. So that kind of makes sense. So that's something too that you could think about if you're an art teacher or another content area teacher. Start with elementary, learn a lot there, and then you could always switch when you get a little bit older. Another advantage to that is, and this came up in the questions I believe too, is if you start with elementary right out of college, you don't kind of have that, not that this should be a reason for you to say no to high school, but that concern that a lot of teachers have, I'm so young, I just got out of high school, or just got out of college, and now I'm gonna go teach high school. And you're not that older than the seniors, do you know what I mean? Like, and you probably don't look that much older either. Not that that should be, like I said, a reason to not teach high school at all, because I don't think it matters in the end. Like, I don't. So that would be one of the main differences, honestly, is their independence. And then of course middle school would kind of be, well, in the middle, so they would have a little bit more independence. If I was a fully only middle school teacher though, I would still prep supplies. I would just give them a little bit of independence. Like, I wouldn't just full-blown let them get into my cabinets like I do high school. High school gets their own stuff, they get into the cabinets, they prep their own things, and they put them away and they clean up, and that's like their responsibility, that's the expectation, and they do it perfectly fine. Middle school, I would do a little bit of, you know, things to get them more independent, but I would also make sure that you're protective of your supplies and know your students. Like, that's what this comes down to too, is knowing your students, because some people might have middle schoolers who could totally handle like going in the cabinets and pouring out paint, but other teachers, your students may not be able to do that. I know me, I'm thinking like my 7th graders, I would never let them do that. I would never let them do that. 9th grade, even my rotation, sometimes I don't. I give them a lot more freedom to do things, you know, a lot more independence in 9th grade, but pouring paint, oh man, I don't know. I've even seen high schoolers do it wrong, but in high school then we have a conversation about it and I teach them. So it just depends. You have to know your students and know what they can handle. But the other main difference I would say is kind of like the excitement, the engagement, that kind of thing. in high school, it's still there. Like, I don't want you to think that high schoolers aren't excited, they're, you know, not engaged. Totally not the case. It's just hard to tell. Like, you really have to be observant. You could be teaching a lesson and not know if you're getting through. Maybe they don't seem excited. Like, it's not going to be like elementary where they're shouting out and they're excited and they just, that energy and excitement is pouring out of them. With high school, it's more quiet. It's, they keep it to themselves a little more. So for example, there was a student who I didn't even know she liked my class. I couldn't read her. I had no idea whatsoever. And I had put out their clay projects. I got the clay projects from the kiln. I put them out. This was last year. Like I said, had no idea if she was interested in art or like what the deal was. She came into art that day and she saw the clay project sitting there, and she didn't know anyone was watching her. I was the only one in there at the time. She came in first, I think. And she grinned from like ear to ear and then turned around and quick, like, I saw the thought process of her, and she like made her smile go away. Like, she was embarrassed to act excited about her clay project. Like, that's the kind of things you deal with high school. It's there, their excitement is there, but they also want to be cool so badly that sometimes they hide it. Building relationships in every grade level is super important. So I would say that that is pretty much the same. Like, you want to build relationships and get to know your students. It's maybe a little different in high school, but once you do get to know them, they are so fun. They're so fun. I literally laugh all day. All day. At my job, I laugh with my students. Elementary, I laughed a lot too, but it wasn't like with my students, not necessarily at least. And that's the thing too though, elementary even differs from 6th grade to kindergarten. It differs from, heck, 1st grade to 3rd grade. Like, if you're a teacher watching this and you have taught elementary, you know that there are actually big differences between each different grade. So for me, to clump elementary into one is actually really hard because, heck, 1st grade is totally different from 3rd grade. 3rd grade is goofy and I can joke with them and laugh with them. 4th grade starts to get more like middle school-esque a little bit. It has a little bit more social things going on and, you know, stuff like that. 6th grade is basically middle school. It's middle school to me. But yeah, every single grade is so different. I haven't noticed too much of that yet with high school, but I am new to high school. I will say seniors are very like la-ti-da. I have bigger things going on. Senior ice is a real thing, but they can also be awesome because like some of my seniors are my best helpers. But yeah, they definitely are like, I have a lot going on. I'm applying for colleges. I'm thinking about college. I'm on to the next. You know what I mean? Freshmen are still a little goofy, but I don't see, I guess, a drastic change per grade as I do when I taught elementary school. But it definitely, if you're looking for that like super in your face excitement, you know, that's elementary. I would not say that that is high school at all. Middle school, it is in a goofy way. Like, they're very goofy, they're very silly in middle school. High school is more like, I'm too cool for school, and then you have to break that barrier and get to know them to like really have their personality come out. So being a role model as a teacher is super, super important, of course. I would say as a elementary teacher, it's a little different. You want to be a good role model with having, you know, nice manners and how you greet somebody and like basic life things. You want to role model, please and thank you, like kind of stuff like that. As a high school teacher, I feel like being a role model is heavier issues, bigger things. I can't tell you how many times I've heard students talk about their weight. I can't tell you how many times I heard girls talking about how badly they wanted a boyfriend. Like, things like that. Just, you know, they're starting to get to those ages where being a role model for these kids it's a lot bigger. Like, they're bigger issues. So, you know, when I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh, like I just say something negative about myself, I have to catch myself because I'm like, no, like my students need better than that. Do you know what I mean? Like, my students need a woman as their teacher who loves their body and is positive and is kind to other people and kind to yourself. So yeah, I think that maybe that's not something that everyone thinks about as a teacher, but no matter the age, your students are looking up to you. They're looking at you all the time and watching you. And our job as role models is so important. I also think when you're making this decision, or even when you're just thinking about like your future as a teacher and where you see yourself being, well, what kind of content do you want to teach? Because that's a big thing too. It's not always about just the students, but like, what do you want to teach? Do you want to teach primary concepts, color mixing and that kind of stuff? Do you want to do more fine art and really dive into art? Do you want to do more of the primary, or you want to kind of be right in the middle and teach more like a middle school level of content? Also, something that is not probably talked about a lot with content for elementary is that there's a lot more than just teaching art when you're an elementary teacher. Like I touched on before about being a role model, you're also teaching things like how to share supplies, how to build confidence, how to make a mistake into a masterpiece. If you remember that, I'd always talk about it when I did my elementary vlogs, but really like those things, having a growth mindset, all that kind of stuff you have to teach in elementary school. How to tie shoes, like everything is a learning experience, everything. Like the two students who are bickering at their desk because they both want the yellow marker, you gotta deal with that. It can't just be about content. You have to teach the whole child in elementary school. So if that's not something that you really like, or that doesn't sound good for you, you might want to go up to an different grade. Now, even in a different grade though, there's going to be things that pop up that are teachable moments. Like the growth mindset thing is something that I'm still dealing with in high school. And I think too, because they don't have art in my elementary school, they start their art journey with me in 7th grade, and so I think that affects it a lot too. But they also doubt themselves more when they're older, and so still teaching that growth mindset, still teaching that you can make a mistake into a masterpiece, that's still a thing. However, no, I'm not teaching them how to tie their shoes. I'm not teaching them how to share their yellow marker with Jimmy. I'm not teaching them that it's not kind to pinch someone at the carpet if you think that he stole your seat. Personally, I loved teaching those little things to students. I loved that every little part of my class was a teachable moment. Yes, I was teaching an art lesson. Yes, I had, the lesson in mind and the project in mind, but they got out so much more from that. Do you know what I mean? Like art at the elementary level, really, especially with all the supplies and things like that, and their creativity starting to just grow for the first time, there's a lot more to it than just the simple art lesson. Because sometimes elementary art kind of has this view that it's like cookie cutter and oh, it's just cutesy stuff, like it's not real art. Well, first of all, yes it is, it's primary art, but also you're teaching them so much within an art lesson that's going to help them with their future. Yeah, to an outsider it might look sometimes cookie cutter or whatever, or cutesy, but there's a lot more to it than that. Okay, the vibe of the schools is something too I want to talk about. Now this might be because I switched schools, so it's not like I stayed in the same district until elementary and then went to high school, because I'd be interested to see if this is true. But this is just my observation. Elementary, you would think, would be the more casual one, because every day is so unpredictable. You never know what a kid's gonna do or say, and it may derail your whole lesson, your whole day even. So you would think that as teachers, as like a school community, it'd be very like go with the flow, and high school would be the one that's more rigid. I actually disagree. In my experience, elementary to me is more rigid, more like very type A, almost sometimes competitive with one another, whereas high school, it seems very just like casual, go with the flow. The vibe is just a lot different. And I don't know the difference in the middle school vibe. I would assume probably pretty goofy. I'm trying to remember when I taught at just a middle school, which was my student teaching experience, and I think it was pretty goofy because the kids are goofy. So it's just kind of like, you have to be weird, you have to be goofy. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below what your experience is with like the vibe of like the staff and stuff, and not just like the students. But yeah, that's from my experience, is that elementary is very like, and high school is kind of relaxed. So I guess my overall advice would be, think about what content you like to teach. And like I was saying, don't just think about specifically art, but think about the stage they are in their life, because we do teach the entire student and there's more to it, I think, than just the content area sometimes. So think about the stage they are in their life, think about the stage they are in their content area of learning your content. What would they be actually learning? What would the lessons be? And also think about how much independence you want them to have. But also keep in mind that you should be open to any experience, I think, because like I said, I really do believe that all my experiences helped me be the teacher I am today. My experiences with elementary, I think, definitely helped me. In the high school level, I take little things from my elementary experience and use them today. Someone told me this once when I was switching, and it was that high school students are really just little kids in big bodies. And I think that's so true. You know, it's just harder to get them to open up sometimes, but like they're silly too. They like goofy things too. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that like they are little kids in big bodies. So because I was an elementary teacher, I think sometimes I can get them to be a little goofy and a little silly and open up more because I have that experience. Okay, I'm getting into a few of the questions because this is a more casual video, and so I was just kind of like talking and rambling about I don't know, things that came to mind basically when you think of high school versus elementary. But I want to make sure I do get all of your questions. So, okay, where do you feel the best fit is and why for you? If I went back to elementary, I would still be happy. I loved it. I loved it so much. And there's things I miss. I really do. I miss having carpet time and arrange them. I miss a lot of the stuff, you know? But I also have to say that I don't want to go back to elementary. I love my job. I love teaching high school, especially the older I get and when I have my own kids. Because elementary is exhausting, and when I have my own kids one day, I just can't imagine being that exhausted and coming home to my own kids, and kudos to all of you who do it. Now, given I was at a school that had a lot of behavior problems, a lot, and so perhaps that did not help my exhaustion, and that is the experience I had, so it might not be valid everywhere. But I don't know, I just feel like high school is my perfect fit, and I can take things from my elementary experience to high school and kind of get that perfect, just like lovely spot for myself. Plus I still teach middle school right now. I have that 7th grade rotation, and who knows, maybe one day I'll have an 8th grade rotation. So I'm really happy where I'm at. I love high school. I love their independence, and I love the relationships I built with them. I love how I literally laugh all day long with my students. Like, it's just, I love my job. I love it. I love my job. So yeah, I'm happy where I'm at, but if I was forced to go back to elementary, I wouldn't hate it at all. Pros and cons of each. I kind of touched on all of that when I was just like talking. It really depends on your personality, because like a con for me might be a pro for someone else. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know if I have set pros and cons. It's more just like observations about each one, and then figure out for yourself if that would be a pro or con for you. I think that would probably be the best way to go about that, because it's just situational. My absolute favorite grade to teach in each one. Okay, I loved first grade. First grade was the best. I love it. Close to being my favorite grade of all time. I love first grade. Middle school, I remember from my student teaching, I loved 8th grade. But now that's changed, because now I really love 7th grade, because it kind of sometimes reminds me of my elementary days, and that's fun because they still have the excitement and they're goofy, and I really enjoy 7th grade now. High school, my favorite grade. Well, I'm an 11th grade homeroom teacher, and so I do see that grade a lot. My classes are all mixed, so it's hard for me sometimes to tell, because I have 10th, 11th, and 12th graders in the same class as an elective. I think 11th grade. I think sometimes the seniors are a lot of fun, but they're kind of like over it at that point. They're ready to move on. And I think 11th grade is a great grade. They're still really into everything. They're excited, but like they're very independent, and they're becoming leaders more and more. So yeah, 11th grade. Did teaching elementary school help prepare you for high school? Yes, 100%. It helped me with organizing supplies. It helped me with structuring my lesson in a way to make my students successful. Something I wish I knew for each grade, or like each, I guess, category before I started teaching. But when I first started in elementary, I guess I didn't know as much about organizing my lesson materials and preparing them ahead of time. So I guess I would want to know that a lot of the success of a lesson comes from what the teacher does behind the scenes. I think that's a big one. And then also, like, you have to go with the flow so much in elementary. You have to be okay with just really, you know, going on your toes and switching things up when you have to, when it's necessary. Middle school, I don't know. I already knew that they were really goofy and silly from my student teaching experience. I guess like the hormones and stuff like that, like you have to deal with that for middle school, but I think everyone knows all that already. So I don't know if I have one for that. But high school, one thing I wish I knew before I started, that you don't have to be as like stressed out, and even, I don't want to say as prepared, you have to be prepared, but like you don't have to have everything to a T before doing a lesson as I did in elementary school. Because like I was saying with elementary school, the success of a lesson is so behind the scenes sometimes with teachers preparing and prepping the lessons and the supplies. But a lot of times with high school, you can prepare a lesson and they're at that point in their life, they're independent and creative and they're thinking on their own. They might take it and go another way with it, and I like that. I let them kind of have that creative freedom. You know, you can honestly say to them, guys, this is the first time I'm teaching this, like, we'll see how it goes and we'll adjust together, and they can be part of that process. So I think just like stressing less about having perfect projects, perfect lessons in high school, and allowing them to kind of be creative in their own way is something I wish I had known, I guess. Do you feel more pressure to be a great artist or know every medium in high school? I was worried about this, so maybe this could be something else that I wish I had known. If you go to school for art, for teaching art, not just art, the courses, at least for me, where I went, the courses are set up in a way where you get experience in every medium. Like, they try to trickle it around so that you have those experiences. That way you can teach a little bit to your student. Now, I will say though, it's not like you're concentrating in one and you're becoming an expert in one. The way my school did it is you had like a little knowledge about each single one. So do I feel like I'm an expert in every single one? Oh my gosh, absolutely not. I'm learning more and more every day. I will also say that the school I came from before this one had an amazing, big, huge art department as the high school, and their work, the work that the students were putting out was like mind-blowing. It was amazing. I would probably feel more intimidated teaching in a school like that. Not to say I'm not a great artist or anything, but I just feel like that's just a little more intimidating, you know? So especially being out of the game for so long, teaching elementary, like I wasn't doing the fine art as much anymore. So coming from elementary, going to the school I'm at now, it was an easy transition because the students aren't at the level my last district was by any means, and I don't know why that is. I know that they don't have elementary art. That wasn't always the case though, but I definitely don't feel like an expert in every medium. And I also feel like schools that do have really big art departments usually have different art teachers for different things, because they're so advanced at that point that it's like they have a teacher for photography, they have a teacher for ceramics, whereas I teach it all. And so that is almost more so like the elementary level, where I kind of have to dabble in every little thing so that I can teach every little thing. Do you feel you have to hide your social media presence more with high school? And going into it, like, I thought I would, because I don't know, they're just like more tech savvy and stuff. Like, I figured, oh gosh, like they're gonna find me or something. I don't pull my camera out as much, I will say, like, because I think that like they will obviously know what that is, like a vlogging camera, they would know right away, whereas my other kids, like, were kind of oblivious. Now, a lot of my past students do know about my YouTube channel and stuff like that at this point, and they follow me, and that's totally fine. Like the ones from teaching elementary, I mean. And when I knew I was leaving, I was kind of like, okay, whatever, like if they find out, they find out. But with high school, it's interesting because I was worried that they would like make a big deal about it or whatever. But actually last year, I had a couple students who discovered my second channel with my husband, and then I had another student who like asked me, which was so random, but she was like, you just seem like the type of person to have a YouTube channel. And I actually thought she was messing with me, and I thought she knew. And so I was like, oh yeah, I do. Like, just said it. And nothing came of it. Like, I think because of the way high schoolers are now, they all are on TikTok. There's so many of them that have YouTube channels themselves, and so it's like not a big deal. Like, they're just like, yeah, okay. Because they all do it. It's all part of their life now. Social media is just so different for them than like it is if you told someone now, like, I don't know, my age or older, that you had a YouTube channel, they'd probably be kind of more like, oh yeah, like what do you talk about on this channel, you know? And then younger kids are just like, oh okay, like cool. So honestly, I don't think they would really care or think anything of it. I think that if they knew about it, they would probably watch my channel. Am I more worried in high school if they find me? Actually, no, not really. I think the younger kids would make way more of a big deal about it actually than high schoolers would. So those are my overall thoughts about high school versus elementary and then kind of middle school as well. I love that I've taught all of the grades. It's just such an awesome way to reflect and think about my experiences as a teacher. I think that every experience has made me who I am as a teacher, and I highly encourage you guys to just take on experiences for what they are, learn from them, and then kind of go from there, and don't say no to any experience. If you're not already following me on Instagram after you watch this video, head over to Instagram and follow me at Michele R. Rose. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, do that before you go. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Be sure to find beauty in each and every day, and I will catch you all in my next video. Bye!